Hey everyone, you were Tom from Ludicrous Feed. Thank you so much for joining us today for episode 9 of Tesla and EV news from Australia to the world here on Ludicrous Feed. I'm joined today by Riz from Carloop. Hello Riz, how are you?
Yeah, going well, Tom. Lots of exciting things happening over the weekend where you sort of expect things to be a bit quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased to see that. It means that lots of news articles are coming out. Lots of things happening in the EV world indeed. All right, let's pop on the news headlines for today. And the first one is an article written by yourself, Riz, showing that EV sales have hit 4.7% in Australia for November 2022.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. It looks like there's been quite a big surge, particularly led by Tesla's, which has dominated the space, and Model Y, one of the newest EVs in Australia. It's been around for a couple of months now. So, yeah, quite good to see where things are at the moment. And there's also a new entrant, BYD, is now reporting their sales figures for the month. And they're number two above the Tesla Model 3, which was the best selling EV in 2021. And so far hasn't been nudged by Model Y just yet.
Yeah, that's good to see a new entrant and certainly a very affordable one that BYD 803 you can see there in front of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Opera House. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Model 3, there's not been many deliveries this year, but I'm happy to see more competition. That just is a good thing for us consumers. There's the figures there. The three biggest electric vehicle sellers this month: Model Y 1,805, 845 for BYD 803, and 391 for Model 3.
Hmm.
They don't also include the figures don't include MG ZS EV or the Hyundai Kona EV sales, Riz.
Yeah, so the top three that's listed there don't include that. We are trying to get those figures from MG, particularly Kona. I've just received them. They've sold 71 in the month, so they won't be making the top five. Um, but yeah, the MGZS, the new EV, has made it to the dealerships and to customers now, and we see a few of them being driven around Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth. But we are yet to receive those figures because when they report them to FCAI through VFAX, they go under the ICE version, MGZS, and there's thousands of those being sold every month. So it's hard to tell how many of them are actual EVs. So that's one other thing that, as we move forward, it'd be good to see brands having specific names for the EV models. Um, and yeah, that would clarify things a bit more, and we won't need to wait for official MG figures to come out and them to tell us how many were EVs.
That's right, and that's probably an indicator of how serious brands are too when they differentiate their EVs from their ICE variants. Interesting to note too that Tesla has delivered 50% more EVs to Australia this year compared to last year. I note that a Model Y was only first started being delivered late in 2022, and it's only just shy of all of Model 3 deliveries from last year.
Yeah, these would be this year's
This year, my
deliveries.
apologies.
The
Yes.
9,071 is Model 3 so far this year.
Mm.
And yeah, nearly nudging Model 3 out, which I think by December that would be the case. And Tesla's shown this over and over again. Every market they launch with the Model Y, within the first 6 months, it becomes the best-selling EV in that market.
Yep, definitely. And I'm certainly very interested to see where BYD Atto 3 numbers go in 2023 and beyond. It's certainly a very exciting brand for sure.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to the next article. And yeah, there's a bit of rumor around this Tesla Model 3 prototype, the Highland edition, I believe. That's what they call it, the new refresh.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. I think a lot of the changes, as you know, with Teslas will be quite subtle. As such, this may be testing the new set of cameras and other things from an autopilot point of view. And there'll be a lot of stuff in there that's under the wraps that we won't see. So things like front and rear castings that just make the whole manufacturing process a whole lot more efficient and cost effective. So we probably won't see that in these prototypes as such, but great to see that Tesla is looking at further optimizing their production as well as offering the value that customers are looking for from their products by continuously updating them.
Yeah, that's certainly Tesla's very hush hush about their The new variants or the new updates have got camouflage all over the car. I've noticed this picture here, though, certainly points to potentially a camera there behind the headlight. Nice spot there.
Yeah, could possibly be, and with Tesla removing some of the ultrasonic sensors and other things, um, from a vision and autopilot point of view as well, um, it's good that they've got placement there, if that's a camera as such, um, because the more data they can read, the more data they can collect, the better full self-driving software can get. And yeah, good to see that they're trying new things, removing certain parts, but adding those that have more than just a basic sense of functionality. So this
Yep.
is recording more footage and more video with one hardware instead of having multiple sensors doing stuff that are not really recording any computer vision.
Yeah, that's right. One gets a feeling that as a Tesla owner, you're kind of helping Tesla with the data collection. But hey, that's the game we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Data is king. All right, let's move on to the next article, which is, yeah, this incredible looking render of a Tesla Semi masquerading as an electric motorhome. That looks amazing, Riz. I wouldn't mind spending some time in that vehicle.
Looks like this is one of the coolest renders I've seen for a while. I mean, we often see on, we don't get a lot of them here, but we often see on uh, TV or YouTube some of those big motorhomes that are in America, nearly $1 million for one of them. But look, doing it like this it's awesome. Really, really cool. And maybe that's a Tesla product in the making in the next 5 to 7 years.
That's right. You can definitely go off grid with that. My only concern with going camper vanning is always the sewage. I think we need a tech solution for that age-old problem. But otherwise, yeah, it looks pretty cool for sure.
I'm sure they'll try and figure that out. And, this could be Tesla's home product with Powerwall. Well, you don't need a Powerwall because you've got the nearly 900 kilowatt hour battery pack. Very
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. Powering all your needs in that one vehicle for sure. Looks very nice. Our next article is yeah, this beautiful looking Quicksilver Model Y being shown across showrooms in Europe.
Yeah, so made in Berlin, getting out there. The first batch we saw a couple of days ago at one of those drone footage out of Berlin are now making their way across Europe so people can see it in person. Looks really cool with those black wheels.
Yeah, there's been definitely a lot of feedback from what I hear on the ground. People miss that silver color that used to be available for Model S. Um, yeah, I'd love to see this color available for us as well in Australia. That's quite a nice contrast to the midnight silver that you can get
I
here.
I think I did see a post somewhere yesterday, Tesla asking UK owners if they'd like to see that in the UK. Now, I'm not sure
Mm,
if that means just to see the car, or does that mean there's potential right-hand drive production that will happen out of Shanghai
mm.
for this paint? So that means it might actually make it to Australia in the next 6 months.
Ooh, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Quicksilver Highland Model 3, maybe. We'll see. News out of China. Tesla Shanghai Gigafactory plant reportedly to cut production as demand falls short of expectations.
I think we've sort of been covering it in the last week or so around inventory popping up in Australia, inventory over a month ago in the UK, that, there's hundreds available in the US. So just the economic conditions, things are slowing down a bit. And yeah, you can't produce that record output if
Mm,
nobody's driving those vehicles because Tesla gets paid when they deliver the car. And if the deliveries are down, they won't get paid, so they won't really be producing anything. So it's better off to slightly lower your production until demand catches up again, or you can lower your prices so that demand does increase a bit. But in this environment, it's a bit hard to see how much people can actually spend with interest rates going up again.
yeah, we've certainly been showing you viewers the price cuts, the promised quicker delivery in China. I guess a direct to consumer model is very sensitive to economic conditions, whereas in the past they would be selling these to dealers traditionally. But yeah, there we go. Get instant feedback with the economic climate. Hopefully things will pick up in 23. We shall see. In Vancouver, TransLink, their public transport system there, reveals decarbonisation plan with 600 electric buses by 2030.
Yeah, quite cool. I do like that side shot of that bus. It's a bit more rounded uh, compared to some of the normal squarish buses that we see. I wonder if that's a key aerodynamic feature, but cool to see. I think there'll be, demand for tens of thousands of buses between now and 2030 around various different countries and cities. So I know New South Wales has a pretty robust policy to replace most of their ICE buses with electric buses. And you'd like to see other states and cities in Australia do the same. And, other countries like Canada with Vancouver doing this, it's a bit of inspiration for the rest of us.
Definitely. And, it just improves noise pollution as well, and obviously just general particulate pollution in your city. If you've ever sat at a bus stop or walked around the city and you see an electric bus pass you, it's great. It's a great feeling because it's so quiet. It looks so smooth, and hopefully we'll see more of that in our capital cities and regional areas in Australia. This one is Redwood Materials approved for some tax incentives. Now, Redwood also dabble in battery recycling as well.
Yeah, that's, I think, their main business, research and recycling of battery materials. One of the biggest myths is sort of around, you know, the batteries. What will you do with all of this toxic stuff? They think it's uranium once it's used, that it's you can't do anything with it, and it's gonna, do more harm than good. But research shows, and Redwood does a lot of it around, recyclable materials within batteries as such. And Tom, you pointed something out just a bit earlier around the co-founder there.
Yes, that's right. Tesla co-founder JB Straubel, uh,
Mm,
actually founded
he's
by him.
yeah, which is very, very cool to see that he's sort of been involved in the journey from the very beginning with Tesla and now at Redwood, and with US having such a big sort of focus around the Inflation Reduction Act, around having more battery materials within the US. Why not start with a lot of the batteries that have currently been running around for over 10 years with some of the Teslas there, as well as other EVs, so that stockpile will continue to increase, and hopefully Redwood can recycle most of them into newer battery packs for more vehicles.
Yeah, I would say battery end of life use is one of the top five, maybe top 10 throwaway, cynical, skeptical lines that people throw at me or other EV owners. Like, what happens to the battery at the end of its life? I would say, first of all, I think they last quite a long time. Like, my Model S is now 7 years old, going strong, not much degradation. And secondly, we've got companies like this, Redwood Materials, doing good things, recycling batteries at the end of their lives as well. So there you go. If anyone asks you that question, this is what you can point at. All right, let's move on to the next article, which is Mercedes. Little snapshot of an electric micro camper van just on the back of the Tesla Semi masquerading as a motorhome.
Yeah, we touched on this the other day, Tom, with EQT being a smaller sort of van that they've got. And Europeans do, quite creative things with some of these smaller vans in that format. And yeah, looks pretty cool. You can sort of see that being used quite a lot in Europe. Obviously, Australians have an affinity with traditional caravans as such. So it'd be good to see some of these concepts being implemented in Australian sort of motorhomes and camper vans as well, which is, yeah, um, quite good to see that electrified camper vans are coming.
Yeah, that's right. Hashtag van life really should be hashtag electric van life. I think it'd make more sense to me. That's good. Hopefully, we'll see those on the van sort of rental market too. More EVs coming out.
Hmm.
Next article is, whoop, let me zoom out a bit. There we go. Aiways, we touched on this a few days ago. Aiways is the Chinese EV startup setting up battery and car assembly plant in Thailand, which is fast becoming the Detroit of Southeast Asia.
It seems that way, and I think the Thai government is quite serious about the electrification of their transport and manufacturing of vehicles. A lot of the more popular cars and utes in Australia currently are made in Thailand, so it naturally makes sense. They can see the writing on the wall, so they're inviting a lot of these bigger manufacturers with open arms to set, battery as well as EV manufacturing so that their economy can be sustained into the future as well. Good to see markets like, Thailand, developing countries playing such a big role in the
Mm.
electrification of their own transport systems, but also being able to produce world-class EVs for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's right. Great to see Southeast Asia and Asia in general uh, paving the way for the transition. Watch out, Europe. We'll see. And interesting news here: Toyota to develop a fuel cell Hilux with UK government support. Hmm. Toyota, what's going on?
Oh, look, I think we need to think about not the Brexit, but Hilexit, because you can't have hydrogen utes running around in the current format when the battery electric vehicle technology is improving so quickly. And we spoke about this the other day around the BMW iX5 having a hydrogen variant. It's hard to fuel. It's doing the same thing again as we've been doing with petrol and diesels. We're going to a servo. So yeah, I guess the people of UK will be will have to question where some of their taxpayer funds go into the near future on projects like this one, because battery electric is the way to go.
Yeah, you're right, Riz. I mean, my understanding is hydrogen efficiency is not much more efficient than petrol efficiency. Certainly nowhere near as efficient as battery electric efficiency when it comes to converting energy to movement. So it doesn't make sense to me to go back to a servo to fuel up. Whereas with a EV, you can charge it home every night or charge at the work site. It just makes more sense. So yeah, we might need to start watching Toyota to see whether they're doubling down on their no EVs general vibe. And I noticed too that I can't even pronounce their battery electric vehicle, the one they've got that didn't
Oh,
produce as much range as they thought it would.
oh, the Beyond Zero 4X,
That's the one.
BZ4X. Um, yeah, it's going to be as even Ford's finding it now, and we touched on it last week, that Ford's finding it difficult to mass produce EVs with such low numbers. I think we had an example where Tesla can produce the same amount of cars that Ford did in a month in about 2.5 days at Shanghai alone.
Mm.
So it's, if you look at Giga Berlin, Austin, and Fremont, as well as Shanghai, that's probably like a day's production of what Ford is able to do in a month. So, that's just crazy. And they have a vision to produce 2 million EVs. So by 2026, every year. And unless Toyota starts today, I mean, so far their EV's been a bit beyond zero EV sales. So we're going to have to see. And I know here in Victoria, they're doing quite a bit in that. Once again, hydrogen fueling station converted the old plant into that previous federal government funded facility partially. So we'll just have to be careful with where some of those funds are going as voters and the rest. But yeah, interesting to see how we transition straight to a battery electric instead of going through these hydrogen stepping stones.
Yeah, that's right. So Toyota, don't bury your head in the sand. We're looking at you. All right. Next article is Amazon expanding its micromobility fleet and new hubs in the UK.
Yeah, it's quite good to see that they're in Europe. Obviously, there's a lot more parcel deliveries compared to how things are in Australia, and everything seems to be a bit more closer. So inner city deliveries in an electrified, whether it's a three-wheeler, two-wheeler, or small vans, is the way to go. So yeah, I mean, we see it with some of the new postie trikes, if you've seen them, sort of, I don't know whether that's riding around or driving around in Australia. So similar to that, but at a much bigger scale with Amazon there.
Yeah, that's right. I've always said these light commercial vehicles make a lot of sense because you can always charge at the depot in between deliveries. So I think it's far more efficient than a petrol version. So hopefully we'll see more of those here in Australia because Amazon is certainly a huge market here in Australia too. So watch this
Hmm.
space. And the final two articles, let's talk a bit more about the NIO ET5, which is, we've been covering this over the last few weeks as well. So, it's a good review here by this YouTuber here.
Yeah, very cool looking car. And they've got some, really nice, let's call them unconventional paints or colors like that one there.
Hmm.
Used to be popular once upon a time, and yeah, quite good to see. I mean, that design's just so sleek. So and yeah, it seems to be catching on quite a bit, particularly with these cars heading to Europe, very Porsche-like from that angle.
Mm.
Aerodynamics are just, that's what it's all about with good performance. And yeah, people want these cars. They don't look at them as, oh, they're Chinese made or anything like that. They just look cool. So sort of the future is here with some of these vehicles.
Now these are the same cars that can battery swap in Europe, right? That we showcased a one in the Netherlands that recently opened.
Yeah, so this is these ones have full battery swap. All Neos, new ones anyway, have full battery swap technology. I also believe, and it's not something we've touched on in the past, but I also believe these can be DC fast charged as well. So it's not just the swap technology. I'm pretty certain. I'll do some research for some of our upcoming episodes. I'm pretty sure you can DC fast charge them because Neo does have fast chargers as well. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye out and share it with the rest of our audience in the coming episodes.
That's right. So, look, I'm going to touch on the wrap as well. I mean, we are starting to see, certainly in Sydney, I'm starting to see a few different types of wraps with these kind of bright colors creeping into our Teslas. I'm seeing them as well. So, given the large Asian population we have in our capital cities, maybe that's starting to take hold with these colors. So, I don't mind that at all. Actually, they look quite nice.
Yeah, it's very unique, right? And I think the where things are going to go, like Tesla's always sort of said, we're going to try and keep production as efficient as possible, produce 5 colors only. Now there's 2 more, as we've sort of been touching on with Quicksilver, and I think there's the red one, cherry red, I think it's called. Um, so yeah, slowly, these manufacturers are looking at other ways, and wraps form a big part of that. You can buy a white car, wrap it in any color you want, and it's very unique.
Yep. Yeah, and again, Neo, if you're watching, Riz and I are always here to test your vehicles here in Australia. So I quite like the look of the Neo ET5. It looks very sleek indeed.
Hmm.
And finally, let's wrap up with some news from VW. Some complaints in China due to some onboard system failures in their ID3 platform.
Yeah, and we touched on the new one potentially coming out in the next year or so. The current ID series is sort of plagued with software issues, and it's not just the ID series; it's just general Volkswagen vehicles. So hopefully, Volkswagen can work through these things. But as far as I know, a lot of those issues at the moment don't have a fix by the manufacturer. So,
Mm.
and in this particular article, they cover some of the real critical safety issues. So the cameras don't show up on the screen. So when you're reversing, the reverse camera doesn't work. There's certain other safety features that are unable to be activated by the driver when they're required. Um, because yeah, the screens have faults, the software doesn't work, and that's not what a lot of the consumers have spent quite a bit of money on getting an electric car from Volkswagen, which has, in China particularly, has been one of the best-selling brands for the last decade or so.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they're saying things like blackout of the onboard screens, frequent loss of network connectivity, fault codes, etc., with no real fix. This kind of reminds me, Riz, a little bit of the early 2000s and late 90s with software wars and certain operating systems not being very reliable. I think this is where the battle is now with EVs, where we want a reliable platform and reliable software, and whoever can master that quickly I think, will win this race.
And I think software has been one of the key challenges for most traditional brands. And with VW, unfortunately, I don't see a path out of it at the moment. I mean, in some ways, it's not such a bad thing that we haven't got any ID series cars in Australia just yet, because you'd rather have those things sorted before you bring a product into a market, particularly if you're going to try and sell it back to your traditional Volkswagen customers today. Because when they step up from an ICE car and have a poor experience in an EV, it doesn't matter if it's just a software related issue, they're not going back to that brand.
That's right.
So these are some of the challenges and opportunities. So those, as you said, Tom, can nail the software side of things. Will be a lot better. And Polestar's doing that quite well with Google inbuilt. So leaving the software component of it to experts like Google as such. And yeah, Volkswagen, I think, needs to either pick a partner, or if they're going to try and develop it in-house, they need to really scale things up.
That's right. Either get your in-house team sorted or just leave it to the experts. I think that's a good option there. Riz, that's it from today. Thank you for your articles as always for episode 9.
Thanks for that, Tom. Good to see lots of things are changing, and it's sort of gearing up to be a pretty exciting end of 2022 and the start of 2023. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Pleasure, Riz. No, thank you for being on and chatting with us as well. And thank you for watching. I appreciate all your positive comments as well over the last few episodes. Keep them coming, and that certainly encourages us to keep going as well towards episode 10 and beyond. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you next time. And as always, happy charging.